This is going to be your initial training and or refresher for qualitative fit testing, tasting your way to safety. Why would you choose a qualitative fit test? Well, what we're going to be doing here is we use a vaporized tasting agent, and the subject is trying to work through a number of exercises to test the seal of a respirator that they'll be wearing on their face inside of a hood with an irritant being placed in there, in this case either saccharin or Bitrex, in order to verify that the seal of that mask is working properly. This was the original method to verify the seal of a mask to a person's face. It used anything from irritant smoke to these vaporized tasting agents. One of the main drawbacks of this is the nature of the subjectivity of somebody identifying the tasting agent or not. So that's one of the things to keep in mind, where a qualitative test isn't necessarily as exact as a quantitative test, but can still have some merit when being used for testing purposes. When you're going to do a qualitative fit test, there's a number of pieces of equipment that you're going to need. You can see those labeled here, one of them being the actual testing hood itself, a stopwatch or some kind of a metric to keep time, as this is a timed test, 2 nebulizers, one will be used for sensitivity solution, one will be used for the actual testing agent, your MHD issued laptop, because that's where the results are going to be put into as far as the form that gets filled out along with this test, the collar, which goes inside of the testing hood to assemble it into a more rigid structure, and the 2 different testing solutions. You're either going to have Bitrex, saccharin, or both, and you're going to need the sensitivity version of that, as well as the actual fit test solution itself. Preparing for the actual test day, you're going to want to go into your technician data file folder and make a file folder specifically for the work order that you're preparing for. The file format that we use here is going to be the date followed by the company name. In this case, you can see that August 4th of 2022, I went over to a client and provided some fit testing for them. This is keeping it nice and organized, so when operations has to go in to retrieve those forms, they can easily locate any of the data that you guys collect out in the field. You're also going to want to prepare by pulling one of the blank fit test forms from the report template folder. You can find that by going to the MHD Technician Manual folder, then going to the subfolder Report Templates, and then the subfolder Fit Testing. And you can see the PDF version at the bottom that's labeled MHD Qualitative Fit Test Form, located right here. Save as into the client folder that you would be putting in. So I'm going to take a copy of what I've underlined there, and I'm going to put it into that folder there. Once you've done that, you're pretty much set up for success. After I've set up that file folder, I'm going to pull out the actual kit itself, and I'm going to take a look at each individual piece of equipment to make sure that it's serviceable and ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do is pull out the actual hood itself and look for any significant tears or rips. If there's small damage to the hood, generally speaking, you can take some duct tape and repair those rips. But if it gets to the point of being ridiculous, notify the logistics team and we can send you another hood to backfill the one that we would consider to be unserviceable at that time. But a small rip or tear does not necessarily mean you're dead in the water. As long as you got a roll of duct tape, you can patch those right back up. Then you're going to want to take a look and make sure that you have enough sensitivity and full testing agent to get through a day. A day of testing might require up to 1 to 2 tablespoons of agent to fully get through any given day. So if you have less than that, again, just send in an equipment request telling them that you need either saccharin, Bitrex, and whether that's sensitivity or testing agent. And then you're going to want to inspect the nebulizer pumps. This is going to need a little more detail, which is why we have a diagram kind of below of the major points that you're going to take a look at. Inspect that you have both plugs there. That's really just to make sure that you don't create a mess, and when you're going to store those, it's going to keep liquid from getting anywhere. The most important piece is a small question mark shaped insert inside of that pump. That is the major piece inside of a nebulizer pump that creates the vapor. If that is broken or missing, you're going to need either a new nebulizer pump or a new question mark shaped insert, either one. So again, notify logistics if that is a problem. The black O-ring on the 2 parts that twist together forms a good seal in order to create a vacuum. You're going to want to inspect that for any major cracking or rips or just that it's present as a whole, and then verify that there's no damage, cracks, or tears in the reservoir of where the actual testing agent is going to be housed. The bulb at the very bottom, you're just going to want to squeeze that a few times and make sure that it's easy and not overly rigid so you can get a full easy squeeze out of the bulb each time that you pump it. If you put a small amount of agent in there to the reservoir, you should be able to visibly see vapor coming out of the top plug once both of those have been removed. Once testing day has actually arrived and you've arrived at the actual work site, you're going to want to take out the hood and the shoulder ring to form the actual testing chamber itself. You do this by working the small rubber flange of the top portion of the neck ring into the hood itself, and then tying the drawstrings to form a nice tight seal. You can see the final example here to the right, where the small hole is oriented towards the front of the person. That's so they can place a finger into that hole and secure it while they do the bending over portion of the respirator test as we move forward here. Again, very simple process. You just put the ring into the hood and tie it down. Here you can see the actual form that gets filled out to verify if somebody has passed or failed a fit test. There's a couple of things that you can fill out easily as you get a new patient to be tested here. That being the top left employee name, the top right the company name, if they wear glasses or not, and then which agent you're going to be using, whether that's Bitrex or Saccharin. And then you'll fill in your name, the test date, and the retest due date, which is going to be 1 year from the actual test date. The one thing to take note here is the one small paragraph that says, does the employee have facial hair, dentures, or other attributes that will prevent a positive face fit? The facial hair piece is an automatic fail. If you answer yes because they have more than 24 hours worth of growth of facial hair or an amount of hair that would compromise the seal of a respirator, we cannot complete a fit test at all unless the person leaves and shaves and comes back for a follow-up test. One of the things that you'll end up seeing when working with a point of contact or at each individual site is they may have more than one model of N95, half face, or any combination of the two of respirators that they would like tested. So as we fill out the form, there are just certain things that you're going to want to know or be able to fill out here. When we fill out the respirator type, be sure that you either have an N95 or a half face respirator. These are the only two kinds of respirators that can actually be tested with this method of testing. If it is a full face, we cannot do that with the qualitative fit testing. As far as the make, those are going to be the major brand names. So those are the 3M, Halyard, Honeywell, so on and so forth. The aspirator model itself is going to be whatever the specific model is. A good example of that would be the 6500. So in this case, you'd have a 3M 6500, and the respirator type for that would be a half-face respirator. The respirator size should be printed either on the box, the packaging, or the mask itself. Those are usually going to be small, medium, large, or universal fit. If there's ever a question on the validity of an N95 mask at all, you're going to want to check the box, the mask itself, or the packaging for a TC number, and you can see that circled below. If you cannot find or locate a TC number on a mask or the packaging it came in, that is not going to be a testable mask. The reason for this is the TC number verifies that NIOSH has certified that for a respiratory protection program. That also means that it has a history of being able to test and pass a fit test. So if there's no TC number, there's a high likelihood that that mask will not be able to pass. A great example of this would be a KN95, which stands for Korea N95. They are becoming more popular for use in America. That may change in the future, but notwithstanding, their history of being able to pass an actual fit test, specifically a qualitative fit test, is very low. Up to an 80% fail rate was seen in multiple studies. As you begin to actually conduct the test, you're going to start with the sensitivity test. You're going to explain to the actual person what you're going to be doing here, and there's a small amount of preparation that takes place here. You're going to want to make sure that you've noted whether you're using Bitrex or Saccharin, and then you're going to want to remove one of the vaporizer pumps and the red labeled bottle, which is the sensitivity portion. Open up your vaporizer pump and you're going to add a small amount into the reservoir and then seal that back up. Test to make sure that you have a vapor that comes out. You're going to repeat that with the black label bottle in the other one for the actual fit test. Then you're going to explain the actual process to the person who's going to be tested. In this case, they will not be using a respirator, should not have been recently eating or chewing gum. Place the hood over the top of the person, and then prepare your nebulizer pump. You're going to insert the nebulizer pump into the small access port on the front. Explain to the patient that they should have their mouth open, tongue slightly extended, and breathe through their mouth. Make sure you're not spraying it directly at the patient, and squeeze the pump about once every second to second and a half. When the person indicates that they've tasted the agent, you're done with the sensitivity portion. Take note of when they tell you they taste it. For a squeeze of 1 to 10, then the actual start of the test is going to be a 10 or a sensitivity of 10. 11 to 20 is 20, and 21 to 30 is 30. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future, but keep that in mind that for a sensitivity test, the only answers are going to be 10, 20, or 30. What we're actually looking to accomplish by doing a sensitivity test is we're trying to kind of compensate for the level of subjectivity that is present within a qualitative fit test. The reason why they're broken down into factors of 10, as in 10, 20, and 30, is because those are the sensitivity ranges that you'll be using for the actual test. If someone goes beyond 30 squeezes of the sensitivity agent, the next thing that you're going to want to do is change your testing agent. So if you are using saccharin, you'll use Bitrex. If you're using Bitrex, you'll use saccharin. If they are unable to identify either of those, whether that's due to COVID, deviated symptom, long-standing cold, or anything that would keep them from having a good sense of taste, then this is not a good method of testing to verify a respirator. At the start of the test, the sensitivity score is going to dictate what your initial dose is going to be at the start of the test. So if you began a test with a sensitivity score of 10, you're going to initially dose somebody with 10 squeezes of either the Bitrex or saccharin fit test solution. If their sensitivity was 20, then it will be 20. If it was 30, then it will be 30. As you move through the test, there's a tendency for the mist to settle out of the hood. So after 30 seconds, and every 30 seconds for the duration of the test, what you'll do is put half the value of the sensitivity squeezes into the mask to kind of re-up the amount of material, or agent in this case, that's in the mask. So if it's sensitivity of 10, then you'll start with 10, and every 30 seconds after that, you'll do 5 squeezes. If it's 20, then every 30 seconds will be 10 squeezes, and 30 is 15. That's why I would tell someone at the very beginning of doing a sensitivity test, it is to your benefit to tell me as soon as you taste it. If you try to be overly tough or bear through the horrible taste of Bitrex, then this is just going to make it worse for both you and me, and up the possibility of having either a false positive or a false negative throughout the test. Once you've actually explained and done the sensitivity portion of the test, then what you're going to have the person do from here is don their respirator. This is a great small video that's going to show you the proper way of donning an N95.
Introducing the 3M 9210 N95 respirator. Its unique design provides comfort, secure seal, customized fit, and versatility. Follow these instructions each time you don your respirator in order to achieve a proper fit. Remove the respirator from its packaging. Hold it with the straps facing upward. Place the bottom strap under the chin panel next to the warning statement. Fully open the top and bottom panels, bending the nose piece using your thumb. Place the respirator on your face so that the foam rests on your nose and the bottom panel sits securely under your chin. Pull the bottom strap and position it over the back of your neck under your ears. Next, pull the top strap and position it across the top of your head. check that the straps have not become twisted. Adjust for a comfortable fit by pulling the top panel towards the bridge of your nose and positioning the bottom panel under your chin. Place fingertips from both hands at the top of your nose and mold the nose piece to achieve a secure seal. To test fit, cover the front of the respirator with both hands. Breathe out sharply. If you feel the air has leaked around the nose, readjust the nose clip. If you feel air leaking elsewhere, adjust the position of the respirator and the straps. Then repeat the fit check.
Thanks, 3M. So if you walk through and explain that exact process to every single person that comes in to do a fit test, your likelihood of having a pass on the first go is much higher. When you start moving through those faster or not having them pay more attention to folding that nose piece down, or if someone comes in and pinches it with their thumb and forefinger, that's usually going to have a leak start to be present in the mask. So if you just follow along with the video when explaining how to don and do a positive and negative pressure check with the mask, then that should lead you to a critical success once we actually start the test. Now we're going to actually move on to doing the test. What you'll do is place the hood over the actual participant, let them know that you're going to be moving through a couple of different exercises in order to try to compromise the seal and verify that it's working in all conditions, and ensure that you're using the pump that has testing solution, not sensitivity. Here we have a video from Draeger that walks through every single portion of the test and how to conduct it. Again, if you follow along with them and get through the entire testing portion, you'll have been doing it to the standard.
Now, when I insert the solution inside, we do need you to breathe in through your mouth with your tongue extended. If at any point you do taste the solution, place your right hand up and we will stop the test. As the testee detected the sensitivity solution below the number of 10, at the start of the test we will put 10 full squirts of solution inside the hood. Every 30 seconds we will add a further 5. So by removing the inlet and outlet nozzles, we'll insert this in. Forward a touch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll then start the stop clock and just normal breathing. So 30 seconds is up. I will put a further 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And continue that test of just normal breathing, please. So once I've put in the next 5 squirts of solution, what I then need to do is go into deep breathing as if an exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay, all I'm going to do is insert the solution in again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now if you can just rotate your head left and right as if naturally looking left and right. So then another further 5, just hold your head still for 2 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and continue your left and right. Okay, when I've inserted the 5 solutions this time, I need you to do head up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So head up and down as if you were naturally looking up and down. Okay, if I just get you to stop 2 seconds, I'm just going to put another further 5 in. And just continue with that motion for the test. So once I've put the solution in this time, all I want you to do is count down from 100 towards 0 as if we were having a normal conversation. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
100, 99, 98, 97, 96.
So if you just stop counting there, I'm just going to put another 5 in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you just continue where you were towards 0, so 60.
60, 59, 58, 57, 56, 55.
Okay, I'm going to put a further 5 in. And this time I just need you to bend forward as if looking towards the ground. Arms crossed across your chest. And I'll just hold on to the bag at the bottom so we don't lose the bag. Okay, if you just stop there, I'll just put another 5 in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just continue the motion for the test again. What I'm doing is checking the solution, making sure I'm still getting the mist. And now we're going to insert 5 more. This will be our final test. 2, 3, 4, 5, and all I want you to do is go back to normal breathing. This should be our final 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just normal breathing. 30 more seconds. That's the test complete. All I'm going to ask you to do is to put your hand on the inside of the hood and break the seal of the mask on the inside. And hopefully you should get a taste of the solution on the inside. Yeah. Once that's complete, you can then remove the hood and then remove the mask. If at any point during the test you had tasted the solution, we would have stopped the test and then had to start the test from the very beginning again.
So again, just a couple of things to go over here. We use a slightly different hood. When they do the bending over exercise, it's going to be smart to have them place a finger inside of the hole on the front of the actual shoulder collar. That will keep the hood from falling off of them. Another thing to note is this was obviously truncated for time, so we weren't sitting here for a full 7 to 8 minute long test. Those re-ups that he was doing into the hood would have been at each 30-second interval while the test was being conducted. If at any time the person had identified the actual tasting solution, then they would have either made a mask adjustment or tried a different respirator and then reinitiated that test. Another thing to keep in mind is it is very common for somebody to go through claustrophobia when wearing this respirator. If it becomes unbearable for them, you're going to want to stop the test. It can become a safety-related issue. Somebody's welfare is going to be a much higher priority, and in this case, there are other means of testing that could go through with somebody. Use your best judgment. A few things to remember as we continue to move forward here. Just to kind of go over the sensitivity score one more time, because it tends to be the thing that confuses people the most. That 5 is what we would call a top-off squeeze, or basically keeping the amount of media or material or vapor at an adequate level in the mask in order to saturate that environment, so we have a high likelihood of, if there is a compromised seal on a respirator, they're going to be able to identify it. Those top-off squeezes are always half of whatever the sensitivity score was at the beginning portion of the test. Those are either going to be 5, 10, or 15 to relate to a sensitivity score of 10, 20, or 30, respectively. If you're like me and you have trouble remembering the exercises or the order to do them, take a look at the actual testing form. Each thing that you need to cover is there with the amount of time that you should be doing it and the order that you should be doing it. So in this case, we have a positive pressure check, negative, head stationary with normal breathing, deep breathing, turning side to side, moving head up and down, talking or counting backwards, bending over, and then back to normal breathing. If they get through all of those as passing, then your respirator fit test result is a pass. In the instance of 2 fails in a row after making an adjustment, try a different size mask if the person has a preferred model. If that's not available, then you're going to need to try a different mask brand or model. If you're unable to get a test to pass with any of the available respirators, then you're going to just want to make a note and let operations know later and the point of contact that you were unable to achieve a passing score with somebody and that they might need either a PAPR or a different style respirator. As a simple note, chocolate cancels out Bitrex, and for that, you're welcome. So if you end up getting any of it in your mouth, or you just kind of want to be that extra mile customer service, have a bag of Hershey Kisses and offer it to people. So if they do get a good taste of Bitrex, they have a nice way of getting it out of their mouth quickly. Do keep in mind, though, don't let them have it before the test, because they can't have eaten or been chewing gum prior to this. Saccharin is also very sticky. It gets everywhere and can plug up the actual vapor pump. If you're using saccharin and having a long day of testing ahead of you, you're going to want to periodically check to make sure that vapor still comes out of the pump. It is not uncommon for the question mark plastic piece to kind of gum up throughout the day, and if that happens, it's a simple rinsing it out, putting it back together, adding more media, and then going right back to testing. Just keep those things in mind. Here you can see how we would finalize and record the results that we've taken from doing a qualitative fit test. We have Curtis Bowman here, who is a fake person that I made up. He works for Example Company, doesn't wear glasses, has a sensitivity score of 10, doesn't have anything that would interfere with a respirator, was being tested in a 3M 6500 in the size of medium. Bittrex was the media, and that nice little column of passes all the way down let you know that he is cleared to wear that respirator. I was the person administering that test, which was done on February 1st, and he is good to wear that respirator for the next year until he needs to be refit tested. On the right, you can see the naming format. So once this form is done, I would recommend that you hit Save As, and then use the format that you can have highlighted here on the right. The person's name, QLFT, or Qualitative Fit Test, the mask, in this case, a 3M, the type of mask, which in this case is the 6500, and the date that the test was completed. So for the example, that date would be 2/1 of 2023. Once you're done with those and you've completed one of these for each person that requires a test, you're going to want to connect to Wi-Fi and verify that your folder and each individual document has that small green check mark. That green check mark means that your OneDrive has synced. From there, you can notify operations at operationsmhdhealth.com that the test is complete, the results are there, and they can go retrieve that data when they're ready to prepare that for the customer. Once you've gone all the way through all of those steps, you're done for the day. You've done a great job, and pretty soon you're going to be able to do up to 2 of these simultaneously, no problem. If at any time past this you'd like any further questions answered, or you've got a work order coming up that you need a little bit more than what was covered in this video, or just some clarification, you can either call your direct supervisor and request a little bit of a rehearsal training before you actually need to go out to a work order, or call the on-duty supervisor with the support line, and they'll be able to get you all spun up and ready to go. Thanks again for Mobile Health Diagnostics and to all of our technicians that do great work every single day.